Okay, hey, we're live. It's Monday, the first a few good minutes of a new week. I like doing a few good minutes at the beginning of the week. It's always a good thing. So thanks. It's Brent Leary, and with me right now is Fortuné Alexander from Pega. Now, Fortuné, you have an interesting, like a dual role because you deal with marketing and customer service. Uh, can you explain? Give us the full blown title, and kind of talk a little bit about how these things are combined. Because usually you see one or the other, but you're doing it all at once. So thanks for joining me, and tell us a little bit about the role you have at Pega.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brent. Happy to be here. Yeah, I'm the product marketing leader here at Pega for our customer service and sales automation products. So we have a complete solution for customer service and sales automation. Um, AI-powered decisioning and workflow automation on a low-code platform. If I had to sum that up in 6 words, that's how I'd do it.
Hey, you did a good job, man. No complaints here. So you were just talking about, I'm in Atlanta. We're like bracing for this hurricane. We're not in Florida, so we're not going to get the brunt of it. But yeah, kind of on edge. But you're saying you're in Austin, and it's still like almost three digits there.
Oh man, we were burning up this weekend, 98 degrees here in Texas, and I'm ready for a little cooler weather. And I'm hopeful we'll get it. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a Longhorn fan, and we had a heartbreak this weekend in Lubbock. But in 2 weeks' time, we'll be in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, and that's always a fantastic game, and I'll be there. And I'm hopeful that we'll have cooler weather when we get to Dallas.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm actually, I'm in the middle of in the heart of SEC country, and yeah, I'm in Atlanta. Not to say anything about the number one dogs, the reigning champ dogs, but I'll just put that inside and welcome you guys into the SEC. What is it, next year or something like that?
I hope it's next year. I think we might be playing a year or two more in the Big 12, depending on TV contract negotiation. But we'll be there soon enough. We played Alabama, almost beat them.
Yeah.
And next year we're going to their home grounds and hopefully have a better result next year there.
Yeah, well, good luck with that one. But in the meantime, that's all next year or two. Next week is customer service week. And, I know that you guys are getting ready to drop this new report. But just talk about, before we, kind of tease the report because it's not officially ready yet. Maybe you'll give us, a little bit of a taste of what to expect. But when you think of customer service week, what does that mean to you?
I think it means just giving a tip of the hat and recognition to everyone from people who are leading contact centers to people working in the contact center to IT people having to make decisions on what technology to deploy in the contact center to vendors like Pega and others who bring products to market to make customer service and contact centers jobs easier and more rewarding. So it's kind of a week to just celebrate customer service professionals, from anybody who touches, customer service, of course, cuts across all the industries. So it's a fun time for us. We enjoy it. We get up at Pega for this week with a lot of fun content, interactive content. And we're putting the finishing touches on this report called The Future of Customer Service. And it's talking about the 3 to 5 year time horizon. And we surveyed over 750 customer service leaders all around the globe. In primarily 1 billion plus companies, so large organizations, to see what's on their minds, where they think the trends are heading, and how they're preparing for customer service in the near future. And so this report's going to be fun. A lot of insights in there, and sometimes you get one or two things that you didn't expect to see. But yeah, so we'll be dropping that next week. We'll have a webinar on it as well. So while we're talking, I'll just go ahead and throw it out. If you just Google Pega webinars, A Future of Customer Service, you can register. It's next Tuesday, and you can come along and hear about it.
So that's all great for next week, man. But we're doing this show right now. Is there anything that any tidbits, anything you can share? I know it feels like, at least, Gen Z and millennials are going to be playing a major role in the people who were surveyed in this report. Maybe you can give us a little taste of kind of the methodology and who you surveyed around this?
Yeah, well, we surveyed customer service leaders, but we leaned in on questions around generations and where they see it going. And a couple that I scribbled down here, had to get super secret clearance to share with you. But, surprisingly, 70% of the customer service leaders said that they're going to be optimizing the customer service experience around Gen Z and millennials. And this kind of grates me a little bit because I'm Gen X, man. So hey, I'm not. I'm important too, But
we're still here. We're still here.
the cold hard reality is Gen Z and millennials are the guys that make up the majority pretty soon here, and so contact center leaders are definitely looking to make sure that they optimize their experience for those target audiences.
Well, you think about those target audience, millennials, Gen X, are making up a bigger and bigger part of it, but those same generations are also making up a bigger part of the employees that are going to be helping with these experiences. Maybe you could talk a little bit about not only the expectations as a consumer for Gen Z and millennials, but also them as employees that are going to be, interacting with it.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with this one too, because, we talk customer experience for years, and now it's the employee experience, and some people have coined total experience. And I love that because it's TEX, short for Texas. So I always get excited when I hear total experience. But you're absolutely right, man. You've got Gen Z stroke millennials coming into the workforce. And if they're going to be working in customer service, they've got iPhones in their personal lives. They don't want to have these green screen antiquated systems that they're trying to help do their jobs with. So that's what I'm super excited about is, as we start to apply AI and automation more broadly in contact centers, they're not having to swivel chair and, stick their head and ask a colleague or get on Slack. The system's kind of really guiding them through the whole process. It's like you're just watching the system, and you're getting a much better employee experience as well.
So how are the expectations for customer service changing when you think about, these two new generations that are not only coming into, being the ones who are buying the most, but also they're going to be the ones doing all the servicing?
Yeah, I think a couple of things come to mind. Fast and everywhere. People, it overwhelmingly, people want fast resolutions. And if you work in customer service, you're like, yeah, that's pretty obvious, but it's still top of the list in terms of, hey, I want a fast resolution. Ultimately, I think where we're trying to get to as a future customer service is no service, because you're going to be proactive and preemptive. Now, we know we're not going to get there anytime soon, and people have said that for a while, but it is a good aspirational goal to say, hey, we're not going to have a contact center with 2,000 agents. We might have 50 people, and they're going to be managing the AI, and the AI is going to be doing all the interaction. It's kind of like, you get stuck at the grocery store trying to check out in self-service, and you've got a pack of beer, and somebody has to come over and make sure you're 18, but then they don't take over. They just, approve it and walk away, and the machine keeps going. And that's kind of how it's going to be. Most of the interaction is going to be AI, and you're going to have contact center agents just dealing with either managing the bots or handling the super complex stuff.
Do you feel like this new generation or these new generations are going to be more receptive to working kind of in conjunction with AI and with bots, not feeling like the bots are going to take over their job, but really looking forward to working with bots to, kind of hand off the tough stuff and allow them to have more of the more human interactions with, the folks they're servicing?
I think absolutely. And, I was poking fun at my own generation, Gen Xers, but I think if I look at my daughter who's 10, she's digital native, and this is second nature. I think this whole word about our jobs being taken away is kind of going to be less of a concern for these younger generations that come into the workforce, because they've grown up with, AI and technology at their fingertips since they were babies. So I do feel like, jobs will change, and they always have, and they always will. There will be jobs, they will evolve, and they will look different.
What are some of the surprising things you might have found in this report? I know you can't tell us a whole lot, but were there anything that would make you like do a double take or like, wow, really? That's that?
Yeah, one little signal we picked up on is more and more contact centers are thinking about revenue generation, cross selling, upselling. And if you think about that, that's been prevalent in some industries for a very long time. You call your mobile phone provider and they're always trying to, sell you a new phone or get you on a different plan or what have you. So that's not new. But what was new and a little bit eye opening for me is to see that across other industries. So we saw some of that data coming on where people are saying, yep, we want to measure customer lifetime value and we want to make sure that we're engaging with our clients when they reach out for service on how they can use other services. So that was one nugget that came through.
It seems like you got to walk a fine line with that one,
You do, because you don't want to be tone deaf, and you need to know if somebody's madder than hell. You're not going to want to offer them, another thing if you haven't totally fixed the reason that they called in to get fixed.
Yeah. What about the aspect of kind of the future of work from home, call centers, people being able to work from their home as opposed to going into some central location? Was there any insight around that kind of the way that people will be working?
Yeah, in this report, we didn't dig deep on ways of working, but in other reports that I've seen recently, some contact center are coming back in, and then some are hybrid, where they have people who come in and people who work remote. And I think that's going to be the reality. It's not going to be everyone back in, and it's not going to be everyone at home. We're going to have that hybrid model when it comes to this department, just like other departments and companies.
What kind of structural changes do companies need to make in order to fully embrace some of the findings of how millennials and Gen Zers not only will consume but also how they want to work?
Yeah, we touched on it a minute ago, and I'll just circle back to it. There's a lot, and this is weird because as a vendor, and every vendor does this, you assume the market is where your latest release is at, and the market is still 10 years, 10 years ago. If you look at the average contact center and what they're running and what they're doing, a lot of them are still using, stuff that's not modern. And so I feel like we really need to see the industry invest in, more technology to be able to use AI powered decisioning and guidance that, allows that servicing process to be more seamless and faster. That's what people want. They want to get in and out. And ultimately, they don't want to have to call you at all. They want you to know that there's an issue and fix it before they even know.
Well, so do you see this new generation, these Gen Zers, these millennials, forcing companies then to make those technology investments so that they do have AI and bots at the disposal to help, predict potentially when things might, when somebody might need help, instead of waiting until people are, in dire need, and then they're very, their emotions are high, and chances are it's very hard to have a really pleasant, service experience when that scenario is carrying out.
Yeah, I think so. I think customers will, and the report did say this. I don't, it's not spilling too much, detail here, but over half, and we had a report last year that said even more than that number are willing to walk away from a poor service experience. So you just can't afford to have poor service experiences because people won't tolerate it. More and more, there'll be less, willingness to give you a pass.
So basically, then, kind of generally speaking, these younger generations are less tolerant of bad experiences.
I think that's a very fair statement, and they want it fast, and you better get it right, and you better get it right on whatever channel they're using to reach out to you, and they don't want to be pushed into a phone queue or called back. They want it solved.
Channels. I don't know how much you can tell us, but it does feel like, the channels that Gen X and, previous generations use, like Facebook or something like that, they're like anathema to a lot of these younger folks.
Hmm.
How important is it to make sure that you're not just speaking the language, but you're actually using the right channel and you're at the right time compared to years previous?
100%. We've seen a ton of channel growth and a ton of channel shift. One of the things, though, that we haven't seen yet across the board is, yeah, you can do stand up a bot on a third party channel like Facebook Messenger, but the sophistication of most bots is wanting, and people are frustrated because they're like, hey, I started this self-service experience, then you couldn't help me and I had to call in, and then the person I got didn't know anything about what I was trying to do. And that's where people get super frustrated. If you're gonna stand up self-service channels in new places like Facebook Messenger, make it work. It better have some understanding of what I'm trying to do and be able to resolve it.
As I think back, the one channel that it feels like these younger generations detest is actually calling somebody. Yeah, they have a phone, and the last thing they do is actually dial somebody and talk to them. It's mostly texting and these multi-channel exchanges. Are you seeing that become even more important for the future of customer service to be less phone and more, you know,
100%.
other channels,
Yeah.
even other, bots and other technologies?
That digital first snowball is rolling downhill and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And we absolutely see that. People don't want to pick up the phone, don't want to call, unless it's, my mom or your mom, maybe. But,
So what's the time frame? I mean, we're talking about next week, and you mentioned a 3 to 5. How much time do companies have to get this right with these generations? Because from my personal experience, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of time to get this stuff right.
I think you're right. I think we've seen this. If you work in the industry, you've seen this coming. You've seen report after report coming out saying this. But there is a tipping point where, if you're a laggard and others in your space are doing this, you will definitely get left behind.
And it feels like getting left behind today is, you might as well just, stick a fork in you, because once you're left behind, it doesn't feel like you get many second chances with these folks.
I think that's right. I think digital is everything, and that's what we see, and that's what the report bears out.
So, any suggestions going forward, kind of based on this report that we still don't have access to, but any tidbits, anything that you could point out to help folks once they do get access to this report to take it and run with it and do something with it? What are some of the steps you think may be helpful for folks?
Yeah, I think it's really important to look at how you set up your processes, and this is a little bit, leaning into the technology lens, but ultimately, you want to establish a workflow for an intent, what a customer is trying to achieve, and have that same workflow be deployable across all those channels. So whether it's a bot interacting with them over Facebook Messenger, or if it is my mom calling in, the process isn't different. And if they start it in one channel and move to another, the context isn't lost and it's dynamic. So everyone says this, all the vendors more or less say the same things: end-to-end, frictionless, seamless customer service. And it sounds great, but mileage varies greatly. And you gotta pick the right solution. And so I'm thinking about 10 years ago, in positioning solutions, people always talked about the challenger sale, bringing more insights to clients to help them make decisions. And I think we're at a place now where it's information overload. And so there's too much information, and people just need to start to understand, how do you make sense of this? Who really can do this? Because everybody says the same thing. If you cover up logos and go to websites and change fonts, it's hard to distill, like, who can deliver this and who can't.
Yeah. We hear a lot about no code and low code platforms. Where does that fit into this equation? There's automation, there's process, there's no code, low code. How are these technologies going to be leveraged in order to create the kind of experience, or help the workers of the near future create the kind of experiences and collaborative exchanges with these modern customers?
Yeah, Brent, I really believe it's not about building a tech stack with, okay, I'm going to bolt on my AI, I'm going to bolt on my automation, and growing this massively complex tech stack that you can't really make changes to. And so it's really important to pick a platform that has AI, automation, workflow all built into the DNA of the platform. So you can use that to build your processes once and deploy across channels. And that's kind of where we get to the heart of what Pega is and what we do. We do those things all in one platform across, sales automation, customer service, and any enterprise grade application you want to build on top of Pega, because at the heart of it, it's a platform for enterprise applications.
What kind of skill sets are modern customer service agents going to need in order to meet the expectations of this new set of consumers?
Yeah, you know what? It's soft skill sets, and I'm not talking about the report for a moment, because as if you're an IT app delivery and deployment, or if you're a customer service leader, you need to kind of understand that technology landscape. But if you're an agent, frontline agent, you want to be able to have tools that are doing the process, walking through the process up, so you can have an engaging, empathetic conversation with the person that you're talking to, and not trying to figure out, hold on, I'm trying to figure out where to put the data in the system, what system I need to go to. So if you can free up that agent to have the conversation and be more human and more empathetic as the machine is doing the processing and walking through the steps, that's what you want.
What's going to help management and the actual frontline contact center agent really be aligned and understanding each other's role in getting and creating the right customer experience? Because sometimes it definitely feels like, management wants certain things, while the frontline worker is like, dude, I'm just trying to survive here. What can help to bring that relationship together? Because if you can, chances are the experiences you create for customers and consumers is going to be much better and more aligned with what they want.
Yeah, take the frustration out of the agent's job. That's what we're talking about. Automate the rote and routine. And one of the things, and I'll just throw it out there because you asked the question, is why do agents have to key in anything at all? You can, and when Pega's got this, we've got voice AI. It listens to the conversation. It literally it's transcribing, and it says, my address, I need to update it. It's 123 Main Street. Why does agent even have to key that in? The system just dynamically populates data, hands-free. And we do that today. And it's funny because, we've been doing this for a year, and I look around like, nobody else is talking about this. How come other people aren't talking about the hands-free agent experience when they're having the conversation? Fields are just being populated, and you're just clicking green checkboxes. Yes, that's what they said. Yep, done. And auto wrap up. If you think, Brent, in a contact center, when you have an engagement, at the end, you got to wrap up, write your call notes, say what actions. If you can automate all that and have the system to say, this is what they talked about, this is what you did. Does it all look good? Yep. Click the green checkbox and done. You're saving time. You're taking all that keying away from the agent, just summarizing the call and next actions, and it's all hands free.
To me, that is such a key point you're making. I mean, I've been on this kick for years about, wouldn't it be great if I was, you're just interacting with an application, a business application, and instead of having to type or click or swipe or any of that kind of stuff, which is not natural to me as a human, naturally would be me saying, hey, app, do this. Right. That's more natural. So what the fact that, what you just pointed out would seem to me would be a huge selling point and a key way to not only, make an agent happy, but I'm guessing it's going to make the consumer happy, because if the agent doesn't have to spend time, putting in, name, phone number, and then, 2 minutes later you get passed over to somebody else and you got to do the same thing again. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it makes everybody much happier because it's less, computerese and more natural language. I'm hoping that's, when you think about the future of customer service, it is definitely more natural language from a a agent to application perspective, agent to consumer perspective, more natural language, it would, to me, would seem to be a much better path to go than kind of the traditional way that we've been engaging with systems over these years.
100%. And then that was, this whole customer journey orchestration and data orchestration, where you don't have to go find data in any system. It's just there as you're going through the workflow. Those are big wins. But ultimately, the other thing that we're talking a lot about, and I know it's CS Appreciation Week next week, is we want to automate a lot of this work out of the contact center entirely. And that's what people should be striving for, is like, this stuff doesn't even need to come into the contact center. Make self-service work. Use AI and automation to actually give those bots the understanding and the intent and the capability to process and resolve the issue, and don't even have it touch the contact center.
But I think that's, if you're able to do that, the impact on the contact center is actually more human interaction with the people that need us at these kind of dire moments. So if the contact center agents don't have to, worry about the mundane stuff, typing and clicking and all that kind of stuff, and they have something else that handles all of that, that really should free up, the agent to be more human and to kind of use their own human instincts more, instead of, the computer instincts that we had to grow to interact with each other.
Yeah, and what's real fun about that from an agent perspective is it makes them look like a superhero, because one of the things that I can tell you this because we just ran a webinar. We're going to release 8.8 mid-October, which is our latest release. And we've got this thing called real-time redecisioning, where if you've taken care of the issue and in the conversation, there's something being said in real time, the agent can present the most relevant offer if it's right and the customer's not red in the eyes and upset. And that offer seems to be, perfectly placed by the agent, when in fact AI listened to the conversation, ran NLP, did a bunch of decision science, and came back and said, hey, this person's starting a new business. They might need a business credit card. Why don't you offer them the business credit card if it's a financial services company in that example? And that real-time redecisioning that's happening as the conversation's unfolding makes that agent look super smart, but it's all AI kind of right there guiding them.
And I think it's really key, because as we said throughout this conversation, these newer generations, Gen Z and millennials, they speed and being as real time as possible is really critical in order for them to kind of be able to enjoy, or at least find really good satisfaction in these interactions. And so if you're able to leverage these modern tools, the data aggregation, the AI, to be able to pull the next best action and be able to use it without them, focusing on these other stuff, you're just able to say, oh, this is all right, let's go with this, and then make the best interaction you possibly can based on all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you don't have to worry about anymore. It feels like that is, I don't know, nirvana, or if something that's much more happier than on both ends, not only on the consumer side of the house, but on the contact center agent side of the house, because you just made their job a lot easier.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then the exciting part is this stuff isn't like future. The things we're talking about are capabilities you can do today. But like I said, there's this lag between what's the latest thing on the market and what people actually have deployed in their contact centers and in their companies. And it's always so crazy, because you got to get out of your product roadmap mindset as a vendor and be like, you're talking to these guys who are still 10 years in the past.
Jeez. Hey, Fortuné, this has been a great conversation. Once again, tell people where they can learn more about this report and where they can get it and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. The report drops next week as part of Customer Service Appreciation Week. We're also going to have a webinar, and we'll talk more about the report and future trends in customer service. If you just go to Google, type Pega, webinars, future customer service, you'll hit the reg page and you can register for the webinar next Tuesday.
Awesome. Hey, man. Well, I hope it cools down some down there, Well, the good thing is at least you don't have to worry about any hurricanes this week.
That's true. But my family in Mississippi is new. We're watching the news, making sure we see where that thing is going.
I hear you. Well, hey, Fortuné, it's always good talking with you, and I'm looking forward to the webinar and checking out the report next week as well. Thanks again,
for
man.
having me. Thank you.
All right, folks, and we'll be back a little later this week with CRM players. I don't even know who we're having on this show at this point, but I'm sure it'll be somebody good. Stay tuned. Thanks again.